this is all alleged. This is all my opinion. My opinions are not facts. I write down every single word, try to, that Nicki says. So I'm reading you the words so you can interpret it how you want to interpret it and let me know. So Nicki's artist Lourdes, everybody was really trying to see if this was going to say heavy on it right here, because you know she's supposed to be signed to Nicki. So that's what we're going to get into now, because Nicki was addressing that on Stationhead, and a lot of people were confused, being that Nicki's label is not anywhere on her music. So this is Lourdes' first ever solo single to reach the top 50 and her second ever song to reach the top 50 of US iTunes. So the vibes are definitely buying and supporting and stuff like that, and they definitely might kick in their support a little bit more now that Nicki has kind of clarified the current status of like their relationship and record label. This is my notes, as you guys always see, right? But like this whole first page, so wait, that's 2 pages. Before we do that, I'm gonna come back here because I'm gonna start off with this. I'm gonna start off from the top down, okay? Nicki revealed via Stationhead that she finished her contract with Young Money Cash Money Records. Now, she didn't say this like those words, like she finished her contract, but we're all inferring that because she used the word like when I was signed to Young Money Republic, Young Money Cash Money, or whatever. And all of the fans have been waiting for this moment for her to clarify her stance with Young Money business-wise and stuff like that. This is how I'm still getting confused, is because she's saying that her contract is over, but it's still saying Young Money right here. When Nicki does release music again, when she releases a single, we'll see for real. Hopefully it doesn't say Young Money Cash Money on it, and that will literally be like, okay, like they're really done or whatever. And I believe that they're really done because she said it, but it's like I just kind of want like the paperwork to reflect that, you know, like, so because like when you look at Drake's catalog, Drake current shit is not saying Young Money. Did Pink Friday 2 end, you know, like Nicki's contract with with Young Money? Nicki putting out Pink Friday 2, that was her last album that she gave to Young Money Cash Money, right? So now we looking at Drake right now, and you see what he puts out. It says OVO, under exclusive license to Republic Records, okay? So that's what I'm looking for Nicki's music to say. I'm looking for Nicki's music to say either straight Republic UMG, or heavy on it Republic UMG, or heavy on it UMG. Something that does not say Young Money Cash Money, okay? That's what I'm waiting for. So we're waiting to see Nicki's artist say heavy on it. We're waiting for Nicki's music to say heavy on it. There's still time for that, right? Like just make sure that what, you know, she releases going forward just says like heavy on it or Republic, but we just want to see the motherfucking update for ourselves, okay? I wanted to start off top because that's like the top layer of the cake that we about to get into, because we're going to get into the nitty gritty of the top level. Okay, Nicki, Young Money Cash Money, she's no longer with that. She's now she got her umbrella, and under her umbrella is heavy on it Republic. Okay, so now we going downstairs. Okay, so downstairs is where her artists are. Please, you know, if you have any questions, let me know, because you know this is a learning process for us all. So being that the song was out, everybody knew that Nicki was going to get on Stationhead, because why not? And then we talked about the speculation as to like, oh, why is it not saying heavy on it or X, Y, and Z? Did she sign her contract or not? Nicki basically confirmed that none of the artists are legally signed to her. All 2024 been about is who signed to Nicki, who not signed to Nicki, who didn't do this, who didn't do that, who could get free promo, who can't get that. All of these prerequisites, and bitch, then nobody knows sign no paperwork. Nobody signed no paperwork, but we being picky as to who we give attention to. It's not the worst thing in the world, because I've always been like, I'm gonna give Nicki time, because starting a label and launching others' careers is truly not easy, and it truly does take time. But it's just like the fact that like we've made such a big deal about who get what and who don't get. It's like you would have thought that like shit would have been at least a little more developed, but it's understandable because now it makes sense as to why nothing is moving. Nobody really dropping music, even though she played the song. It's like, do I really feel like it's really, you know, all good between them or whatever? But as I said, Nicki was going to address this, because the fact that Lourdes' song dropped and there was no promo, and I'm not mad about that, because like clearly like there's really no paperwork in place. Nicki is still under the impression that Lourdes and Tate at least want to move forward with signing with her. And Nicki actually like said to Tate, Nicki was saying to Tate like, oh, like you handle your business so that we can get, you know, the show on the road, X, Y, and Z, basically telling Tate sign the contract or do whatever Nicki want him to do so that they can, you know, move forward and put out these hits, as she said, you know, and as they should, you know, as they do need to do. So it seems like things are okay between Nicki and Lourdes for real. As always, when it comes to these things, my thing is that we always gonna only get like Nicki's perspective or whatever, because that is the only perspective. And so I was a little concerned when she started talking, because these other artists, like Lourdes, is not gonna really come out and say nothing. So let's come over here to my notes, and don't be trying to read what the fuck I be saying, because bitch, there's a whole lot of motherfucking typos in here, because I literally have to like write every single thing that Nicki is saying as she's saying it. So I want you guys to listen to this, because in the riddles that Nicki was talking about, of course she did not really mention anybody, but I feel like she was talking about Lourdes potentially, and just like her relationship to other younger artists that she is trying to work with. So let's go through it. So she says, have you ever given someone advice and then they don't take the advice and then they get screwed over? Do you say like, I told you so, or do you act like it never happened? So then Nicki was like, well, I don't get mad. My reaction to every situation is different based on the relationship I have with that person. I always say though, you were right. As in Nicki is like, she's saying like, if somebody gave her advice and they turned out to be right, she would give that person like, oh, like you was right. And then she would be like, I have to go and figure some stuff out for myself, by myself, but I never think of it as an issue like between me and that person, because it indicates that that person cares about me, right? That they're saying like, you know, they gave me advice whether I took it or not. So that she said, it tells me this person is intuitive. She says you want to have those kinds of people around you, because the next time they give you advice, she said, they rather fail a million times than to take advice or to do what you were saying, something about that. So then she starts to talk about like social media, and how like these days with social media, artists are kind of lazy, right? Like they're not as hungry as they used to be. So she says, I love that social media started saying the apology should be just as loud as the disrespect. So a lot of people, like, I don't know who like coined that phrase, but I know like when we think about like Nicki going through the hate train and stuff like that, like we used to say like everybody who disrespected Nicki, like if you disrespected her, if you went against her and you want to apologize, your apology should be as loud as the disrespect, you know? So I don't know if that's the thing that Barb started, or if it was just like a societal thing that we all kind of started, because it's just true. Like if you disrespect somebody in public, then you want to apologize in public, because that's where the damage was done, right? If you're a real person, like if you were a real nigga, if you were real big, if you a real person, you understand this concept. She said, it's interesting to see in real time, and y'all have no idea how many different things and people I've told them things and they've been spot on, and now seeing certain things unfold, I know that even she didn't finish that sentence. She says, at one point, who do people really be competing with? So I'm gonna pause here, right? Because let's pause. Hearing what she's saying thus far, right? Who does Nicki sound like to you? Nicki sounds like my grandmother, right? She sounds like my mother. She's basically telling you, it's always I told you so, because usually as young people, we think we know everything, and our parents, you know, we see that with the generation coming up after us, and even with our parents, like the young people always think they know what to do. So Nicki is basically saying the same thing. Like, so basically the way that she's talking, she has to be talking, I think, obviously, to somebody who is less successful than her, because she's basically saying, I gave you advice, you didn't take the advice, and then you saw I was right, right? But I'm like telling you what to do. And I think that like one of the reasons that it's taken so long for like the artist to release music, because she's only had like only Tate's release music, he's releasing on the label Lourdes, she's now releasing her first song. But once again, regardless of what Nicki say, that song don't say heavy on it, child. That song say Dr. Luke, okay? That song say a pop label. So I dead don't know what's going on, and that's probably another conversation for another time. But it's just like I'm not understanding like how heavy on it is supposed to be related to Lourdes right now at the current moment, based on the song that she's putting out in the business behind it. Anyway, because clearly Nicki's business is not complete with Lourdes. So that's why I feel like she's sort of talking about that situation, because Nicki is talking from the vantage point of like, you know, I've done this, I've been successful, I'm telling you what to do, you're really probably not listening all the way. She said some other things that I feel like could be applied to Lourdes as well. And once again, this is all alleged, this is all my opinion. My opinions are not facts. I write down every single word, try to, that Nicki says. So I'm reading you the words so you can interpret it how you want to interpret it, and let me know who you think she's talking about. But I'm just telling you who I think she's talking about, okay? Based on the timing and the current climate of the conversation on social media and of the fan base. And that's why she's addressing this, because this has been the talk of the town. all artists experience this with their labels. You always hear artists talking about, oh, like they won't let me release, X, Y, and Z. All I want to do is put out music. I think that there's a reason why I got annoyed at Lourdes, because she kept on previewing this song. It seemed like for 3 fucking months, and we're all annoyed at like how much artists these days preview music, because it's fucking annoying, you know, like before it even comes out, we have to hear it so many fucking times. And then she didn't have a date for the longest about when she was going to release it. So it's like there's the plan that's of the unknown. And I feel like the artists and Nicki be going through the same thing, where it's like the artists, they want to drop, they want to put out music, but they can't do it all the way. And you know, like Nicki talking about the label is currently going through and hasn't been through yet, because the business just hasn't gotten there yet. And it adds to the point where like the older artists have to really be ready to take on younger artists. And once again, I'm always going to give her the benefit of the doubt and time, because things take time. But this is my thing. When it comes to anything and anybody, I just don't like when people talk so much SHIT, but like they don't really have nothing to show for it. Like we just been talking so much about heavy on it, all these artists, we're like nowhere, you know? So it's just like, yo, go and figure that shit out. And when you're ready, then come and present that to us, because I don't know what's going on. And I really do hope that that deal comes to fruition. And I truly hope that they get to the point where they actually sign that contract. I want to see an artist sign with Nicki Minaj for real, like genuinely. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going and read some of the notes, okay? She says, at what point, like who do people really be competing with? She says, if you are competing with someone that you'll never be able to win against, this is how she talks to the other female rappers, right? She's talking down to them. You cannot compete with me, which is true, right? So she says, if you are competing with someone that you'll never be able to win against, do you think that that classifies as insanity or something else? I'm fucking dead, because who is she talking about? She said, do you think that classifies as insanity or something else? I said, Nicki, you got to stop. You gotta stop. So I'm like, who trying to compete with Nicki? Is it the heavy on it artist? Like, is it Lourdes? Like, who is it giving? Like, so now she kind of moves on. So she says, people who have 30 different businesses, they spend everything trying to do things that they clearly were not put on this earth to do. So think of like celebrities, right? Like think of celebrities like the Kardashians. They have had every business you could possibly have. They've invested so much money into things because they're just trying to find something that'll stick, right? Kim has found her KKW Beauty, her empire right there. Kylie Cosmetics, her shit was whatever. So Nicki's just basically saying like, look at people who like they start so many businesses because they just trying to stick onto any and everything, but they're not really focusing on what they really good at. Okay, so think about that as I continue to read this paragraph. So she said, people who have 30 different businesses spend everything trying to do things that they clearly were not put on earth to do. She said, at what point should you have a conversation with that person? So then she says, I know a bunch of writers. And that's when, bitch, I ran back to the computer and started typing, because like when she said, I know a bunch of writers down here, she said, I know a bunch of writers down here. And what that speaks to me is because Lourdes is a writer, right? Lourdes started out as a songwriter, right? And so I'm like, okay, she talking about Lourdes. So she says, is it being a good friend to tell someone, hey, that's just not your thing? Have you ever looked into something else? Or do you think you shouldn't say that? So basically what Nicki is saying is that if you have a friend or if you see somebody love trying to do something and they're not really good at that thing, should you tell them to stop doing that thing and go to something else? Or should you just not say anything? Should you just be supportive, right? So this is where I feel like she really talking about Lourdes. Please make sure that you guys are liking the video, because we're really getting to the meat and the bones here. When it comes to songwriters, think about songwriters who have turned into artists. Think about now, we have more successful examples. Recently, we got Money Long, right? She's now an artist. She used to be known as Priscilla Renee, wrote for Ariana Grande, K. Michelle, pop, rock, country, really everything. Kesha, Timber. Then you have Victoria Monet, wrote for Ariana Grande. Her artist career is now flourishing. But a lot of times, songwriters, they want to be artists, but their music just doesn't really catch on. And sometimes it's because, like, you can say like for any like songwriter, like whether it's Victoria Monet or Money Long, like they're giving away their sound to the artist, whoever the artist who buys their song from them. And so now when they try to take their sound and inject it into their music that they release for themselves for us to listen to, we're like, oh, like we can't connect to it, we can't identify with it, because it reminds us of Ariana Grande and Victoria Monet and all of the artists that they've really work with. So a lot of the times songwriters are not as successful as artists because they really should just stay in that songwriting bag, because they just don't hit, they don't connect like that as artists. And so I'm thinking, when Nicki says, at what point like should you have a conversation with this person? Is it being a good friend to tell someone, hey, that's not your thing? So is she saying like, oh, like Lourdes, you're really great at songwriting? I found out Lourdes through working with Sweetie. Lourdes has wrote for Doja Cat, obviously Nicki as well, on Cowgirl and Pink Friday Girls and other songs. And she's a very accomplished songwriter and stuff like that, but she hasn't really hit as an artist yet. And so I'm like, does the shoe fit? Do y'all think the shoe fits? Or am I reaching? Or y'all think, like Nicki not talking about her at all? IBME says, I don't think she's talking about her as in Lourdes, because why she want to sign her if she don't see for her as an artist? That's the tea as well. That's a definitely good point. That's a very, a good rebuttal, basic rebuttal. And this is one of the things that me and IBOME agree on. It's like, once you co-sign somebody, you can't really take that back. And it's like, if she, and IBOME giving her the benefit of the doubt, because she's saying she don't think she's talking about Lourdes. But let's say, if she is, if she is, then it's like you doing the same thing you did kind of like with Ice again, where like you talking about like their talent or lack thereof, but you already co-signed them though. And that's fine, because some bitches don't really got talent like that, but it's like you can't really do too much because you saw value in them at some point, so I don't know, child. I really don't know. But this is my thing. Something that Nicki said has to be applied to Lourdes. Why? Because Lourdes is the topic of conversation, right? Like, that's the whole vibe right now of trying to figure out, every time an artist releases a song, we're all trying to figure out, does it say heavy on it? Is it da 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 da? Is it da 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 da? Because Nicki herself has made it such a big deal for the artist to do what they need to do in order to get her co-sign. So now that's why I feel like something she said tonight has to apply to Lourdes, because if it didn't, she wouldn't be addressing it. She really wouldn't be addressing it, because she started off the conversation talking about, she was really ready to spill some tea and get into some things. She started off the conversation saying like, oh, so yeah, y'all, like, so I've been on tour, for the past couple of months. So what's been going on? Da, 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 da. Like, girl, what you mean what's been going on? You've been on the internet all every day. Like, you tweet every day. What you mean what's been going on? You know damn well what the Barbs is talking about right now. Are you really ready to wake it up? Let's go. But anyway, that's the type of time she came on. So I said, okay, sis, you know what's going on. And that's my thing. It's like, girl, like, cut the small talk. Like, you know what's going on. You know what's going on. You know what today is. You know what people are talking about. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's spill some tea.